Hello and welcome to the February edition of the Patreon show. I don't know if we have a clever name for our non-ZED Talks now, but hey, we're doing the Patreon show. Joining me is Aiden, Frost Rock Arts.
Hey, how's it going?
Colton Blue Basket Sweat.
Hello to only the people that give us money. If you're not a patron,
Temporarily.
go home.
Yeah.
Unless it's a month later, and then we still love you too.
That's the weird part, yes. Awesome. So I have tasked these fellows with coming up with a champion based on the theme of like necromancy or voodoo, something in that like the dark magic sort of thing. So we've all developed independently our character's kit, and we'll talk about it, break it down, see how it give some feedback.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to finding out like. The first thing I'm wondering is just like if we all designed similar archetype, like we have the similar theme, but like one of us has an AD carry, one of us has a bruiser, one of us has like a mage. Like I want to know that, but we'll let you go ahead.
I have a feeling about what we all chose.
I do as well. I think the role where you can put almost anything there is what we all chose. Awesome. So yeah, I'll go first. My character's name is Rada. He's a ranged magic dealing character. I noted that he has poor AP scalings and decent base damage. I don't want him to do a bunch of damage because I think his utility is really strong. So passively, he consumes the essence of his enemies. He gains cast and curse tether range by participating in champion takedowns, and that has a cap at whatever value. We're not doing numbers on the show. We're just doing stuff. So the curse tether will make more sense later. His Q, he sends forth a serpent, dealing damage and causing the first champion struck to immediately cast their Q, then W, then E. I'll explain this in a second. Cast their QWE on the closest applicable target in range. If no ability can be cast, either on cooldown or no target, the champion is slowed instead. It is a line skill shot and it hits non-champions. So it's not like
I can't wait to watch Gromp cast his Q ability.
Hey, it says it only says I guess it only does that for the first champion struck.
Okay. But
yeah.
Can we
otherwise
please
it
get
just
Gromp's Q ability?
True. Make Gromp a champion. So I want it to just be like he hits you with a Q and then you immediately cast one ability. I don't want it to be like an order, but that's just the priority that I chose. Like.
Okay. So it's just the first of those. I thought it made you blow all three of your cooldowns, and I was like, that's fun.
No, I understand. I probably wrote it poorly.
Okay, so cast an ability at the nearest thing.
Yeah, it
priority
makes more sense.
Q first, then W, then E.
It makes more sense if you can see the greater than signs between the between the letters. So yeah, I imagine like if you play a character, I don't know, like Rada hits an Ezreal, basically. It'll cast his Q in whatever direction the Q would normally cast. Essentially, it'd be like smart cast, I guess, or quick cast, and then W and then E in that order. Won't do that with. Yeah.
I can just imagine you getting like lucky enough on then the Ezreal E's into your team, and you're just like,
exactly.
Fuck you, Ezreal.
Exactly. I think that would be so cool to like. You have to keep track of like the priority abilities for priority targets. You know. Awesome. His W is he curses an area linking all enemy and neutral units. While they are linked, each unit takes a portion of all damage received by other units. Its AoE and the tether can be broken with distance, and as such, it has a long link duration. So linking all the non-allied units in an area together, and they all split the damage that each receives with the others.
Cool.
Yeah, and then you could just break it by getting away from it. But if you don't, it stays for a long time. His E, he curses the target enemy champion, forcing the target to receive a portion of all damage that he receives. This one can't be broken via distance, but it lasts a much shorter amount of time. And then his ultimate, he forces the target enemy champion plus their closest allied champion to become linked. This link cannot be broken and may only expire. For the duration, linked enemies must remain within a certain range of one another. All curses inflicted on one will be inflicted on the other. All curses inflicted on linked targets have increased strength. strength, and all crowd control is split between both targets at a reduced effectiveness. So a big, like, you got to stick to your ally and survive this trial without without dying.
Did I miss what happens if you break the leash, or would it just like
you can't break the leash?
Okay, so like once you just click a certain direction, you can't move, and like if something were to knock you out of it, you just wouldn't move.
I would imagine it functions similarly to like a Camille ultimate. Like you're just stuck there. You know, like displacement will just move you against the wall. If you try to run out of it, you're just going to get kind of like stuck and not be able to move until you're linked.
So if
partner.
if I blitzcrank pull one of them, will it pull the other one to keep them in the circle?
No, I think it just I imagine like the other would just get stuck at a wall or something like that.
Okay.
That's what I'm picturing at least.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I obviously designed him for the support role.
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely it seems like a support.
Yeah. And I don't know, someone who I imagine is pretty weak in lane but extremely strong in team fights.
So go through again. So the Q is you cast it and you make them blow an ability.
Yeah.
W is you tether a bunch of enemies and they share damage they take.
Yep.
And then E was you tether yourself to an ally.
Yourself to an enemy.
You to
and
an enemy,
enemy,
and then the other one is
yeah.
an enemy to an enemy is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of tethering and cursing.
Yeah, because when you had mentioned the passive where it was like it affects the like
yeah
the curse bind or like the tether.
The curse tether
like,
range, yeah.
Yeah, so that was really good then that you actually like use that in multiple abilities.
Yeah, I mean every ability except his Q, which I don't know if it really meshes with the rest of his kit, but I think it's a really cool ability that offers a lot of counterplay. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds sick.
Okay,
awesome.
So you leaned really heavily onto the like
the voodoo
onto the like cursing and tying two entities together.
Yeah, for sure. My thought process was like I wanted to do something like with a voodoo doll, but I couldn't make it work without being like disgustingly broken. So I went with something very similar instead.
Yeah, when you first gave us this, I was like, I literally went out and like read the full article on Wikipedia about Louisiana voodoo and like Haitian voodoo to be like, I kind of want to try and base it on this. And then as I read more, I was just like, shit, all I know is the Americanized media interpretation, like all the shit I want to do.
Yeah, it's it is. I also tried to look into that, and there's just so much. There's a lot, and it's so different from how it's portrayed typically.
Cool. Okay, so I think that's a pretty cool champion. I think
they sound miserable to play against, but
absolutely,
it seems miserable to play against, and I think it might be miserable to play as because I just feel like you wouldn't be doing a whole lot. I guess timing the Q would be like
I guess so. A lot of it is just like sitting around waiting for your abilities to come back up, I suppose.
When you hit it though,
yeah,
true.
Yeah.
When you hit it and you cause that vein to tumble forward, hell yeah,
perfect.
Awesome. Aiden, did you want to go next?
Did you come up with any lore about your champion?
I did no lore whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Maybe he doesn't have a lore. Ooh,
he has no
dark
lore.
And mysterious.
He just showed up on the Rift one day.
Very Fiddlesticks-esque.
Nick, you made a comment during your thing that it struck a chord with me. Mostly due to the fact that I'll send you guys this here. I made a little drawing.
Oh, I see.
I made a character. I changed his name, by the way. He's no longer the Voodoo Doll champ, but he is based on a Voodoo doll. So I made a character called Taboo. If you guys remember from my Nostalgiana thing, there was a scrap character from pre-season 1 called Taboo, and he was a Voodoo shaman. So I took this kind of idea of voodoo and I kind of just like took the base idea of his kit and made it into something that is fucking gross and probably not good for the game. So I ended up calling this character Taboo the Parasite Doll.
Shit.
So it's like a mix of like a voodoo and it's kind of like evil Yumi is the way I was like kind of viewing this. Because I want to take the idea of Yumi, who I think is one of the most frustrating characters in the game, and turn it into something that has a lot of counterplay and is almost on the complete opposite side of the spectrum of like difficulty to play. So anyways, the character just kind of looks like just a fucking like burlap sack, like voodoo doll. That being said, one thing that is we're going to add to this character, because we have zero limits out here at Riot Games, is whenever, so they have an ability where they link to someone, they like soul link to someone, and when they soul link to them, they turn into like a voodoo doll version of that character.
Ooh,
so like,
like
if you link onto Annie, I listened to the picture where you just get like fucking Annie hair, so you turn like a voodoo doll Annie. So Riot has to update all 150 of their characters to have a voodoo doll skin.
Nice.
Plus all new characters. But anyways, I'll get into the actual kit. So the passive is called Sackboy Body, and it is all resist and HP bot are converted into AP and ability haste. So you just have flat armor, magic resist, and flat health per level. And
okay, so it's very similar to like Pike in that sense.
Yeah, I wanted this character to be squishy, and you couldn't turn them into a tank because it would be a nightmare. Otherwise, we get into the rest of their kit. So they're going to be this squishy nightmare fucking fuel thing where you can't stack health, but you're going to get lots of AP haste.
What was the name of the passive again?
Sackboy Body.
Is that like from your high school experience? You got that name?
Why? It's just setting yourself up for your joke. You can't set yourself up for it.
Yes, I can, and I did, and Nick laughed, and that counts.
Colton is very good at that. I will say.
Anyways, we're gonna start with the R because that's what kind of everything else is based in and around. It's called a Soul Link. So Taboo links to an enemy or ally for shared healing, damage, and buffs. This is a low cooldown ability that scales with the percentage of healing, damage, and buffs that it shares to the person attached to. So it starts off at 20% and it scales all the way up to 150%. It is a 7-point ability where you get a point automatically at level 1. You can level at level 6, 11, and 16, and then you auto get a point in it whenever another ability is maxed. So this character being a support means you're not really getting up to it scales 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 125, 150. You're not really getting into those 125, 150 until like super late game because you're a support. You're not hitting 18 anyways. But if you do, it's kind of fucking crazy. So anyways, you start with 1 point in this ability. And what happens is you tether yourself within 800 range of a unit, but you have a fucking massive movement speed steroid while you're tethered to people. Like you're like triple the speed, triple like regular movement. So you're like 800 plus movement speed whenever you're tethered to someone, but you're locked into 800 range of this person.
Ooh, okay. So you're just running around little circles around them?
Yeah, so you're just like a little voodoo doll just spinning around them like with like a little like sack tether, like a little rope.
It's very similar to my character's ultimate, but for an ally. Huh.
Yeah. So any hard CC does knock Taboo out of Soul Link, but it is a short cooldown ability, so you can just like relink pretty easily.
And you said you get a free point at level 1.
Yeah, level 1. Yeah, you're kind of always just like linked to people, but level 1 is only 20% healing, damage, and buff share. We'll get into that in a second. So when you're linked to allies, all healing on Taboo is shared with Soul Linked ally by depending on the ratio. So 20% scaling up to 150%. So if you heal Taboo for 100, your ally is getting healed for 20. So it's kind of cool. And then all buffs between Taboo and the ally are also shared, augmented by the ratio. So if you give your ally a 50% attack speed ratio, your ally is getting 20% at level 1 or 10% at level 1.
And so is that just like double Barons then?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So then when you're linked to enemies, all damage to Taboo is shared with the enemy, augmented by the ratio, and all buffs on the enemy are shared with Taboo, augmented by the ratio. So Taboo can get buffed by the enemy team, and Taboo shares damage with the enemy. So if you're fucking linked to an enemy and they start damaging you, they're actually taking damage themselves. That's why Taboo has to have low resistance or health, or else you could play him like 100% health and tank, and then they can't kill you ever.
That's funny.
So his Q is called Big Suck. It's similar to Karma's...
Wait, Aiden, why were you just going through your high school journal?
Don't worry, there's more. His Q is called Big Suck. So it's similar to Karma's tether. Why am I saying that? It's when he's tethered to someone, you can suck damage, healing Taboo. So it can be paired with the ultimate, and it charges up to a high amount per second. So it starts at low, like suck, like damage, healing, like drain ability early, and then it scales up to being a like high per second healing. It's auto active when using your Soul Link. So once you attach someone, you're automatically using your Q, or you can activate it if you're. Actually, you don't need to. Sorry, I've changed this kit so many times. You don't need to actually activate it. It's just like goes automatically when you do attach to an enemy. If full HP Taboo can store extra HP drained, and then he can give it to an ally like later, like Parasite. Then you like switch back over to your like ally and give them all the soul that you sucked. And if you're using Soul Link on an ally and Big Suck on an enemy, if you're in range of both people, you can be attached to an ally but Big Sucking an enemy. And then you can just transfer the health straight to your ally instead, rather than like it going to you.
Okay.
His W is Spirit Zone. This is the ability that I fucking took forever to figure out because I need another damage ability that also is like a healing ability. So it's an AoE. Think of Xerath's W, but you charge it up so it the width of it charges up. So it can be like a little tiny like single pixel ability, or it can be like a Nasus spirit, whatever the fuck his ability is called.
It gets the radius gets bigger and bigger.
That being said, it's an ability that heals allies in it and damages enemies in it, but the healing and damage is always the same. It's just the amount of time that it happens over. So if you charge it for longer, it'll be a bigger circle, but the healing and damage will happen over like 5 seconds, rather than if you instacast it, all it will happen over 1 second, but it's like the size of like a Karthus Q.
Oh, I like that.
That seems really cool.
Yeah,
and then his also seems like a nightmare to code.
It's true.
Yeah. And then last but not least,
Riot Games is gonna do it.
Last but not least, his E is instant transmission. Taboo can blink to any unit that has been soul linked to recently within a certain range. It's a short CD ability, but long CD per target. So you can't blink to the same ally a bunch, but you can blink to any person that you've like linked to recently, but you can kind of blink between them all like a bunch. So he, at the end of the day, Taboo is a super squishy AP character that kind of like plays around with like the healing and like you're balancing your health bar a lot with like sucking enemies and trying to like bring that healing back to your allies, but you are just the squishiest fucking character in the game, and you have to play with an 800 range of the enemy at all times to be actually using your kit. So you're just a super fast like lightning bolt little doll that zooms around people, and if you get caught ever, you just die.
Do you have any reference for how big 800 range is, like based on a...
Ezreal Q is 1,100, I think is like the thing I always use for reference.
The reason I think like Caitlyn's auto attack range is...
It's like 600, something like that.
I think.
Yeah, so the reason why I had to make it at least like... It had to be at least higher than auto attack ranges on characters, because if you link to an enemy AD carry, they can just auto attack you while you're linked to them the entire time. And a lot of the idea is kind of you're just playing around like max range, avoiding shit. You're kind of like playing like a bullet hell game a lot of the time when you're playing Taboo.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the character. It's a fucking nightmare because I think A, it's bad, but B, it sounds fun as fuck, because I think movement speed is the most fun stat in the game, especially seen with Zeri with the recent release. Absolutely. And I think having a character where always in combat, like near an enemy, but you're just playing like this weird bullet hell like dodge thing, and then you can blink back to allies if you're actually in trouble, it would make it a very fun but very punishing character.
Can you blink to allies and enemies, or just...
Yeah, anyone that you've recently sucked or been attached to.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that.
God, man, that sounds like it's super frustrating to play against, super fun to play as. I would also, just can't wait to deal with the fucking team that ran like Yuumi and Voodoo or Taboo. And you're just like, fucking hell, man. The Yuumi buffs are doubled because she's attached to Taboo. And so now they're 100% effective, 150% effective on the AD carry and this annoying little shit running around.
So if you break the tether, does that put the ability on cooldown? Are you...
It does put it on a cooldown. It is a short cooldown, so you could relatch, but it does like obviously knock you off. So if you were attached to an enemy, there had to be a knockoff, because when you're at 150% of the damage being converted to the enemies, if you're attached to someone, you can just fucking burn someone by their team hitting you.
Yeah.
So like you obviously need to hard CC them off of them, or else like your carry's getting beaten up.
Interesting. And they're completely targetable the whole time, right?
Yeah, they're 100% targetable. Okay. That's the main thing I want to change from like being Yuumi is like, I wanted a character that plays like a Parasite, kind of like Yuumi, like the reverse Yuumi, but is targetable, because imagine if you could link yourself to someone and not be targetable, it'd just make the game awful. It's like they're constantly just debuffed.
You just jump on their jungler and say, my job as a support is done. You know where he is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, I think Voodoo characters don't really work in League of Legends, like an actual Voodoo doll character like obviously Voodoo does, but Voodoo doll characters, because a lot of it is getting pain inflicted to them and reverting it back at someone else. And that is a fucking weird mechanic to try to put in. But I really wanted to make it work. And I think Taboo's the closest thing I could get with my ideas.
Yeah, awesome. That was something I think probably all of us, that was like one of the first archetypes we tried to make, was like, okay, how can I like redirect damage from something into an enemy champion? And that's tough to do.
Yeah, because I don't think that exists in League, like outside of I don't know, like Ramus W and Thorn.
Like, so there's reflective damage, and then there's like Ilaoi E, right? Where she like pulls a version of you, and then you hit that, and then that damage goes back to
but there's nothing really like it.
Yeah,
like,
not
exactly
quite
what we're thinking. Yeah.
Nice. I also found it interesting because like I think in your design you went with an ultimate that like you got a free point in.
Yeah.
Because I think that's another thing is like when you're designing a kit, it's like you want it all to work, but you need it to also work without one of the abilities for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Without that.
Especially when that's like your power budget ability. When you're designing stuff, you want to make something fun, and fun usually equates to ultimate, but ultimate equates to you don't have it for X amount of time.
Unless it's a free point or unless it's like a stance change character.
I feel like your character's job is almost to function like a support Karthus, where like you link onto their most valuable target, and then you just hope to God that they fucking like Darius ult you or something.
Yeah,
like,
dude, I like the idea of your fucking teammates killing them, like their allies by accident. Like,
I also really love the idea, since you can like blink to jump back to a target you had recently like cursed or whatever.
Yeah,
that you just wait for that big cooldown ability and then you blink back to their AD carry, right? Like you start on their Jinx and then you like jump back to somebody else. The Vigar ult comes to you and you're like, nope, back to Jinx. She's getting one shot.
Yeah. Like there's tons of things you could do. I just don't know if a lot of it's good for the game, but I mean, hey, that's not really what I'm here to do. I just wanted to make something Voodoo related that was unique.
Hey, you did it.
Yeah. Nice. So I guess I'll get into mine. I think speaking of things that aren't really good for the game, I went the Necromancer route. Ooh. With the idea of like summoning undead. Which it's tough, right? Like I think historically in League, pretty much all summoned units and pets are either super janky or just bad. I think probably the epitome of that design would be Azir's Sand Soldiers.
Like the best example.
Yeah, the best example of like summoned units actually working, and that's because they don't do anything on their own. You do everything for them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But I didn't do that. So mine. I was trying to think, and I was like, I wanted to pull from several kind of other champion inspirations. So I'll just kind of go into it. My character's name is Krishar, the Wanderer. And I did a little bit of thought as to like the lore, and my thought is basically that like I think that he was in Icathia when they like ripped open the void and Shurima fought them off, and he was just like surrounded by death for like months. And then he just like wandered all around the world and kind of learned from a bunch of different like cultures and techniques, because I think there's pseudo necromantic stuff or like animation of objects or souls all throughout the game where there's like Azir's got his sand soldiers, Lissandra's got her thralls, Ilaoi can rip your soul out, you've got all the shit in the Shadow Isles. Like he just kind of went everywhere, wandered around and pieced it together. But with that, his passive is a 2-part passive. The first part is Indomitable Will. And this interacts more with his kit later, but he dominates the souls of the dead, bodies and souls of the dead, so use them as thralls to do his bidding. They feed on life and wither away quickly without a source of energy, so think kind of like little scions that, their health drops really fast if they're not hitting something.
That's really cute, by the way. Just tiny little scions.
Yeah. And then they will chase or attack enemy units until they run out of health. Their priority is going to be enemies affected by one of his abilities, and then champions, pets, epic monsters, kind of so on down. But there's a way to focus them at least, because I think that's one of the biggest issues with pets in the game is you're like, can you hit the thing that you're supposed to hit and not kill the minion?
Yeah, there's a reason why like you can make Heimer turrets target certain things. You can make Malzahar turrets like focus things, or else it's frustrating.
You weren't always able to do that. And
just in game design, you want your stuff to work the way you want it to work, right?
Yeah. And then the second part of his passive is False Life, which I think is Aiden and I went a kind of similar direction. So 100% of his bonus health is converted into a shield pool, which regenerates when he deals damage to champions or monsters. So like a small percentage vamp. And then he also gets, additional shielding when he gets champion or epic monster takedowns, as well as killing blows on minions or monsters. And the way it scales is kind of, it's 100% of his bonus health pool is like the maximum value of the shield. And then as it levels up, the cap that it won't decay past goes up. So like, in the beginning of the game, you can get it up to full, but it'll eventually like start to decay. But later in the game, you can have pretty much the full value without it dropping. And then as well, it's built to be like after it's been broken and you start dipping into his standard health, the conversion becomes more efficient, because I don't want it to be like, oh cool, this character just always has a shield in lane and I can never actually poke them at all because I can't get through the shield pool. But I do like the idea of like, he doesn't have actual health. He's manufacturing this like with magic, right? Like this is not real health. So that's his passive. His Q is Mortal Lunge. He launches a thrall in a target direction, which deals damage to all units it collides with, and then it strikes in a radius around itself, doing like an auto attack in a circle. So I think kind of like a Kane Q, but the spinny part is an auto attack for the thrall.
Is that based on?
Sounds cool.
Is he like an AP character or an AD character?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So he's an AP control mage.
Okay.
He's going to be like a mid-range character, so like about Thresh's range. So yeah, and then like he'll be like a bruisery control mage.
Okay, gotcha.
Which I didn't get to. Also, his spellcasting resource is health. Ooh. So he's burning through his health when he's casting shit anyway.
Like through shield health or health?
His health.
Ooh, okay.
Which again, like his healing from his other stuff is going to go to his like shield pool. So like he's got kind of default spell vamp, but if you buy like more omni vamp, that's going into the shield pool, not his health.
Okay.
But I think other champion healing probably goes normal.
Gotcha.
I hadn't worked out all of that, and I didn't want to have like 25. But if this happens,
yeah, makes sense.
So his W is Awaken. He summons a thrall underneath a target area. After a short delay, the thrall emerges, briefly rooting enemies hit by it. And then passively on his W, attacks from Krishar or his thralls apply stacks of decay, slowing enemies based on the number of stacks. At a maximum of 6 stacks, the enemies will take bonus damage from him and his abilities based on their missing health. So I guess the size of it would probably be like about Talia W, and like that kind of delay where it pops up out of the ground, grabs you by the ankle, and starts bashing you over the head.
How many stacks did you say? You said 10?
6.
6, okay.
Yeah, so each auto attack would apply 1. And generally, outside of his ultimate, you could have like at most 2 thralls at a time. Because I didn't want it to be like a million pets, because that's fucked.
Yeah, so it's going to be primarily like from his auto attacks outside of his ultimate.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Or if he can just like kind of continue the timer on it. And those And then we got his E, Embrace from Beyond. He sends a corrupted soul towards an enemy as a line projectile. Probably about the range, speed, and size of Ari Charm is what I'm thinking. If the soul connects to an enemy champion, it will surround the enemy with a shield of false life, which is his passive, and that will draw the attention of nearby thralls. If the shield is broken, the thralls will gain bonus movement speed towards that target, as well as additional time to be alive hitting you. If it's not broken, it just gets converted to a heal. So it's kind of like a risk move where...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So they're not fast until they break it. So if you can't actually break that shield, you just healed the enemy. So I wanted to make that a big risk
move. It's going to be
move.
a fat steroid then for those minions.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And then his ultimate is Desecrate. So he places his staff in the ground to desecrate a large area around him for a period of time. Upon activation, it'll turn the corpses of any dead champions into thralls within the area. While he's on the desecrated ground, he becomes melee and gains increased movement speed, as well as tenacity. Upon scoring a takedown within the area, a new thrall will generate, as well as extend the duration of the desecration. Thralls summoned on the area will not decay until your false life shield is broken, they enter combat, or you exit the area, or if you're sitting in there and aren't in combat for a duration of time. So very much if you fight me in this zone, I'll fuck you up. Because I'm just going to keep summoning more shit and getting 1,000,000 shields back.
That's sick.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it's complicated. I don't know if you guys... I was just reading through my paper, but...
No, I think so. It sounds very... I don't know, like a combination of Swain plus Old Yorick, almost. You've got a big R button that's you cannot fight me in this, period. And then I will summon units that will gradually just overwhelm you. Yeah, sounds really cool.
And I think for me, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was I want an ability that gets way stronger if you cast it on a dead enemy. But that's really hard to do, and it's really hard to make a kit, especially if you want to include that's not dog shit without it. Because if you require an enemy champion to be dead, it's well, that's just a bad character.
Yeah, especially in modern League where that is the fight's over, at that point.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if I said it, but it turns any dead champion. So that's also it could be a comeback thing.
Oh, interesting.
Right, where if there's a dragon fight and 3 people die and then you show up, you can pop in there, cast Q, W, and R, and you've got 5 thralls now going at it.
Interesting.
And that would be a pretty big area, that desecration. I don't know.
Like a Trundle W, maybe?
Yeah, Trundle W size.
Okay.
So that's my champion. He's not a support.
Not a support, unfortunately.
What lane did you say it was again?
I had designed him as a mid laner.
Okay, that makes sense.
Again, I want him to be an AP bruiser character. And again, focusing a lot on rewarding playing well, where if you let them break your shield and then start regenerating it, it's more effective. If you're getting last hits, it's more effective. If you are managing your thralls properly, you can just have a turbo giant shield that keeps refunding.
It almost sounds like he'd be a better top laner where you can get your stacks of your W, right? And then still maintain I don't know.
Yeah, so W is the stacking slow that eventually makes you deal more damage. I think it could be played in either solo lane. But it was
just my initial thought.
Weird Swain, fucking Scion, Silas, Azir, mishmash.
Yeah.
But that's Krishar. He punches shit.
I like that.
Love me some punchy boys.
Yeah. We need more punchy boys, that's for sure.
Exactly. Design a stock fighter champion.
They did set.
Set.
That's that character. Awesome. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think that's about it. I posted like when I post this on our Patreon though, like if you guys want to share like what you guys think of, like if you liked our kits, if you think they should be in the game, if you have any of your own like Voodoo or Necromancy-esque characters, you should feel free to share with us in either the Discord or on our Patreon. We're more than happy to read them and see how they are. I think this is a lot of fun though, Nick.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to give us a little teaser for next month or?
Yeah. So next month I'm hosting and I am the nostalgiana guy anyway. So I wanted to do a thing where me, you, and Colton, because we're fucking ancient, I want to make a list. I'm going to put together like a bunch of items, not every single one, of removed items in League of Legends. And I want to go through and talk about them, how they would be in current League of Legends, what they actually did for those who didn't know. And then maybe we'll like just throw it into like a tier list just for the sake of like, where to like put stuff, just a visual aid, yeah. But I think it'd be fun to like just put together like a bunch of old items and talk about them and fucking reminisce on the good old days.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I thought you were gonna say it first, like, and I'm gonna try and quiz you guys on like when they were removed.
Oh my god.
I do think though that could be fun. Is like if you had like like all of the item images or whatever, and it's like, okay, sort them by like when they were added / removed.
Well, I was telling Nick, I'm like, oh, we don't have to talk about every single one. Like, we won't talk about Mana Manipulator. He's like, what the fuck's Mana Manipulator?
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, that was the little one where your aura around you gave everyone mana regen.
Yeah. And
it was built out of like
Shroud, which gave
two of the little mana beads, right?
Fairy charms.
Yeah.
2 fairy charms.
Yeah, and some gold. I'd started on Morgana.
Do you remember Soul Shroud, Colton?
Soul Shroud. It sounds so familiar.
That's what
it was. What Mana Manipulator built into one of the items, and it made nearby allies get cooldown reduction.
Yeah,
I don't remember that at all either.
But we can talk about like some of the things, and we'll talk about how they would fit into current League of Legends. Because I mean, fucking items like Sword of the Occult, I think would be just turbo broken. So we'll see how that works.
Oh god, yeah, man, fucking assassins aren't strong enough these days.
Yeah,
awesome. Well,
that's for next month.
Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next month for that. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.